Mono. I thought I had mono once for an entire year, but it turned out I was just really bored.
I want to hear about California.
For purposes of this, or just...
Or we might just lead into that, but I want to hear about it.
It was a good trip. I mean, we just chilled around. Went to Santa Monica for a day. Then we sat by the pool for a day, and then we hiked up the Hollywood Hills for a day.
It was funny because I think my buddy Luke and his wife and family were up there, and I think they were taking pictures right after you. Because they had pictures at like all these different things, and I'm like, Tim was just there, like the same little spots.
You should have told me. I just yelled out, "Hey, all you people taking pictures! Do any of you know Aaron?"
We know Aaron.
As a matter of fact, son of a bitch.
What were all the pictures I saw? Because you had a ton of pictures.
Those are all Jen's.
Oh,
I had a picture of Kermit, and I had a picture of the Bat Cave, and that was it. I let her take the pictures.
How was the Bat Cave?
It was a cave. It took me a minute. Like, Jen didn't tell me where we were going. She's like, "Oh, we're taking you somewhere in the hills," and it's like, "Where? Like, is this something from like Indiana Jones or something like that?" It's
There's
like
a big ball that comes rolling out.
Well, that's what I thought it was, because it's a big round opening, and I'm like, "Is this from Indiana Jones?" She's like, "No, look at it more closely and think about Batman." I'm like, "Oh, that's where the Batmobile comes from," and
It was a real one that they filmed the movie.
from the Animal show. Yeah, it's where the car pulled out of. That's kind of cool.
Okay. Restaurant food.
Nothing super exciting because we stayed in Hollywood.
Oh.
And it's just tourist shit around there. We lucked out in that we met a gal from Wisconsin within like 30 seconds of being there.
That happens.
Right. Well, we checked in. We stayed at the Roosevelt. And we checked in, and then right away there was a gal sampling beverages. And because I appreciate somebody doing my job, I'm like, "I'll drink your booze." And she had an old fashioned. I made some crack. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't need the old fashioned. I come from Wisconsin. I've had my share of old fashions." She's like, "Oh no shit, I'm from Brookfield." So immediately she downloaded us with like all these like cool kind of like off the beaten path places to go to.
Was she work? So she works out there for?
Yeah, she's lived out there for 15
liquor
years.
Liquor company out there.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But it's like, and Jen and I have a good track record of that, of getting lucky about just the first place that we go to, just like whether it's a bartender or whoever, just being like, "Let's be friends so we can find out all the cool places to hang out." Because, I mean, especially in Hollywood, Yelp is useless. I mean, it's all tourist trap garbage.
Okay. I'm here with Tim Demeter. I like to call him the most interesting man in the world. He travels. He went from...
I shouldn't laugh at that. I am interesting. Don't turn this podcast off.
Well, no, they're going to listen to it. He's like, not that interesting.
No, probably not. Now I oversold it.
All right, well, that's it. You've done so much. So from what I know briefly is you went from comics, casino to what you're doing now, distillery.
Yeah,
right?
there's a whole chunk of other things in between comics and casino too, but...
Okay, let's say the fun-paying jobs.
Fair enough. Okay.
Where did you do something with, not comicsology, but...
No, we were kind of a precursor to comicsology. I hooked up with the name of the company was initially Clickwheel, which is now a super dated reference because it was named after the interface device that was on old iPods, that little circle that you spun. They called it a Clickwheel.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, right? So that was the name of the company. And actually, ironically, the job that I had before Clickwheel sealed its own doom by giving me a lovely Christmas present. And they gave me a Mayfair card. And I'm like, sweet, I'm going straight to Mayfair and I get myself an iPod video. So I got an iPod video, and I had already been doing webcomics for years. And I'm like, hey, I wonder what it would look like because this thing accepts photography if I put my comics on my iPod. And this, even back then, those screens were still really nice, and my line work was clean enough that it looked really nice. I'm like, oh, this is super cool. And then, of course, I found out that other people were already doing it, and I wasn't that smart. So I kind of hooked up with them. And just as a creator at first, the book I was doing at the time was called Reckless Life. That was my crime comic that I did for years. And, yeah, I worked with them as a creative, but being kind of the pain in the ass that I am, I would frequently... I'm going to let that slide.
What?
I would let them, or I'd send them feature requests all the time. It's like, hey, we should be having PDF support, and we should be doing, CBZ support, and blah, 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 blah. And eventually they're just...
The most interesting man, people.
If you're into file formats of comic book readers, I'm your man. But yeah, I was just like, hey, they eventually said, if you're going to keep sending us all these ideas, why don't you just come kind of work with us on the administrative side too? And I'm like, what's the pay? And they're like, 0. I'm like, I'm your man. Because that was what I was doing at that time. Moonlight. And I'm like, yeah, here's an opportunity to do some stuff with comics. I wasn't married. I was living by myself. I had a pretty, just a day job that I didn't really care that much about. So anytime an opportunity came across, I was game. And so I worked with them free for years. And they were based in the UK, so I'd have like a conference call with them every Sunday morning and whatever, which was like the only time our times overlapped that I wasn't at work. And eventually it got bought out by a video game company.
That had to work out good because you'd work, and then if they're over there, then timeline had to be fine because it wasn't interrupting anything, right?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It meant getting up earlier than I probably would have on my own volition on a Sunday at that age. But whatever. It's like, that was the time to do that sort of thing. So, yeah, but then Clickwheel got bought out by Rebellion, which is a video game company.
Yep.
I came along with the buyout. That turned into a real job. It turned into a real project with real funding. And at that same time, that's when iPhone launched. And, yeah, we were the very first company to put any sort of comic content on the App Store. We worked with Apple. I got to go to the Apple offices. I flew out to London to go hang out with them. And then I got to go to the Apple offices in the UK, which was super cool. And they sat us down and said, what do you guys want out of the App Store? And we're like, asking me what you want iPhones to do? Like, in retrospect, that seems ridiculous. But it was still cool at the time. But, so we, it's good, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll get to that in a second.
Anyways, so we went out to Apple. We were involved in beta testing the software development kit for the App Store, which sounds really awesome until you are project managing and managing the budget for that project. Because I'd wake up every day and Apple would be like, we don't support zip files anymore. And I'm like, fuck. Like, this whole app is built around zip files. So our bosses were getting super pissed because we had to keep rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. Because, and nothing's changed here, you don't tell Apple, hey, this sucks, guys. Like, this isn't.
You do what they say,
and
then
you care.
No.
Like, we were lucky to be part of that beta program. So, we had a comic reader out in the first week of the App Store. It was not great because we didn't know what in the world we were doing yet, and we were just kind of figuring things out. But I kind of got there, and we ended up building something that's actually really similar to what Comixology is doing today.
What year was all this going on?
2006, I want to say. I'd have to,
which is still 10 years ago, which is crazy. But I mean, it doesn't seem like anything has changed with Apple. They're still doing the same.
Yeah, things are still the same.
Yeah.
And Comixology was kind of coming around at the same time, working on a lot of the same ideas. And really, the only difference between them and us is our owners decided to go another way with it, whereas they kind of went all in. Rebellion owns 2000 AD, so we were like, okay, we're going to work with Judge Dredd because that was their character. I remember I used to tell them a lot. They're like, we want to see this. We want to sell more. Like, we want to sell as much as those guys that have Spider-Man. It's like, then I need Spider-Man guys. It's like, I know Judge Dredd is a big deal around these parts, but in America, all he's got is a really crappy movie because the awesome movie that came out recently was nowhere near.
Not even close.
Nah, not even close.
One thing I wish they would read, going off that, I wish they would redo Ghost Rider because I really like that character, but Nicolas Cage I just cannot get behind.
Didn't they do that on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recently?
I don't know.
They did. They did the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. I didn't watch it, but my brother said it was kind of cool.
I like Ghost Rider. I always like that character, and Nicolas Cage I just can't be like, yay.
There's a new Ghost Rider. His name is Robbie Reyes, and he's got like a muscle car instead of a motorcycle. And I haven't read a thing about him, but visually he's super cool.
I like that too. I like the motorcycle, but I think a muscle car would be pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Okay, so back to, go ahead.
Yada, yada, yada. We had all that stuff, but, I didn't have Spider-Man. They wanted to push Judge Dredd. This was right in the middle of the recession, too. And, budgets started getting tighter, and we weren't able to keep pace. Comixology and those guys were able to say, like, we're going to invest, we're going to really push this forward, and we kind of had to make work what we had. And it's like, that's not how app development works, especially in that early heyday of the App Store.
And I think they came out firing where they said you could buy all comics on their app. People don't know what we're talking about when we say comics out. So it's a app that you get. It's a reader on your phone, kind of like Barnes & Noble Nook that you can get as an app.
Yeah,
but it's just for comics. That's all it is. So anyway. But they came out, I remember you used to be able to just buy comics from Comixology.
Correct.
But I have a feeling Apple said, we're going to charge you for that.
Yeah, well, and the reason that changed is the reason you buy it someplace else now is actually Comixology got acquired by Amazon. And they said, we want you buying these comics through the Amazon ecosystem so we can take our pound of flesh, and that's why that changed.
You're right,
which pissed off everybody.
I have to log in through my Amazon account. That makes
everybody was furious for 2 weeks, and then after it was just like, whatever, this is a minor inconvenience, who cares?
Everybody has an Amazon account anyway, so
exactly,
whatever, like, that works. Yeah. All right, so you went. We can skip through the casino years because. So now you left the casino and now you're at Great Northern Distillery, which we are drinking what right now?
We are drinking Doppelganger whiskey. Yes, this is. I don't bring this out for everybody. No, this is limited. We're out of this stuff. Like when it's gone, it's gone.
How I feel.
I got more at home that I'm not giving to you. Don't worry.
Dick.
But this was a whiskey that we made out of beer. We're across the parking lot from Oso's Brewery. And we got a hold of a batch of their Demeter Doppelbock, which is the Doppelbock with the ball gag on it.
I'm familiar.
Tasty beer. We took a batch of that beer and we distilled the beer. So it wasn't like the wort or, like the ingredients or whatever. It was actually the finished fermented beer, put it in the still, distilled it, and then we aged it in whiskey barrels, and this is what came out. Which, I mean, I'll be honest, and I even said this in my sales pitch to customers. It's like when we first talked about this, I'm like, yeah, that'll be a great marketing gimmick, but is it really going to be that good? And it's super good.
Yeah. Tell us about Great Northern. So you just mentioned you're in right next to also what, Plover?
Yeah, near Stevens Point, for people that are familiar with Wisconsin.
Which is right close to Central Waters.
Yeah, 10 minutes north of Amherst.
Yep. When did you guys open?
It's going to be the 4th anniversary this summer.
Ooh,
in fact, our 3-year whiskey comes out on May 13th at our 4th anniversary party.
And you're going to bring some over? No, I'll come to your patio.
There you go.
We'll listen to a Brewers game.
I will have some at my house, yes.
We'll listen to a Brewers game. Okay.
For everybody else, you can drive up to Plover on May 13th and get your bottle.
Pre-order
it on brown paper tickets. Plug.
We don't plug here. We just tease future podcasts.
Fair enough.
What other products do you have? And we're actually get to that first, and then we'll get to where we can get it.
Vodka, gin, rum, whiskey, rye. So kind of the full schmear.
Perfect. Where are you guys? All over?
All over the state. We're in all the major liquor stores. I'm not in every little corner towny liquor store in the universe, but pretty much all the majors. You can find all of our stuff.
I can tell you it's really good. Actually, I'm a fan.
It's the easiest thing I've ever had. It's
very smooth and
it's easy drinking. I remember before I started this gig. I went out and bought a bottle of Great Northern vodka. Because it's like,
what was their first one that they came out?
It was the vodka. Okay. Everybody always does clear spirits first because you can get them out quick.
Okay.
Every distillery that opens vodka gin right away. Because there's like a, 2-week window between ingredients to bottle in those. Whereas, whiskeys, you got to age them.
Where does tequila come in that? Well, you got to age tequila.
I couldn't say because we locally source everything, and we will not be locally sourcing any agave, so I don't know.
Talk about that. So you're, 150 miles?
Everything from 150 miles or less, except for our rum. There's not a lot of Caribbean rum yeast in Plover.
What?
Yeah, right?
It's so nice there.
But no, all of our other products come from with 150 miles or less. So yeah, I bought a bottle of vodka before I started, just to seem like, well, is this any good? Before I sent in my resume. And I'm not a vodka drinker, and even that was like, yeah, I can sell this.
Yeah, especially this stuff, which I'm sad that they don't.
Everybody loves it, and it was kind of a serendipitous experiment too. It's like, we kind of just also was like, here's some beer to play with, and it's like, even if we got that same beer in that same batch, it's like, this was never designed to be replicated, and that's one of the tricky things about distilling is consistency.
Yeah,
and we never really worried about consistency with this whiskey, which sucks because it's really good.
Okay, so if obviously nobody can get what we are tasting, what do you recommend for the best?
My personal favorite is our rye. I mean, it depends on what you're into, but I really like our rye. It's not just me either. It's won a couple of awards, so it's our most complex and I think strongest whiskey, which is how I like it.
I know the beer stuff, and I'm pretty familiar with all the beer awards, but where do you test, or where are all the awards, and what do they like? Where?
The big one actually just happened is in San Francisco. It's the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. But there's stuff all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of like beer. It's just a bunch of different ones where you can go and enter yourself. All right. So it's, again, Great Northern Distillery, Plover, Wisconsin.
Distilling, they'll say.
Distilling.
There's a
Great Northern Distilling.
There's a Great Northern Distillery.
Is there?
I think in Ireland or...
Oh, no one's going over there.
Yeah.
Great Northern Distilling, Plover, Wisconsin. You can find it anywhere. I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. I like this. All right, now if you're listening, you're sitting in your little cubicle. We are going to get very nerdy here. Hang on for the ride now, Tim.
Yes, rubbing my hands together.
Very exciting.
I've had my whiskey. Let's start talking about Deadpool.
Should we fill up again?
Yeah, why
We're
not?
almost. Okay.
Well, if for nothing else,
you
the
need new
pleasing
ice.
cork opening sound.
Ooh. All right, well, just ask the first question that I had for you. Who do you think the best, if you were going to give out Oscars for superhero movies? Ready?
Yep.
All right. Best superhero in a supporting role. Are we going to do War Machine or Snow Warrior?
That's going to the Winter Soldier by a country mile.
Winter Soldier, it is.
Because that Winter Soldier, that movie's awesome.
It is.
And I like Don Cheadle a lot, but it's like...
No, I don't care about War Machine.
Right, okay.
I mean, it's a cool character, and Don Cheadle just was in a rap video for Kendrick Lamar, I think. He raps over Kendrick Lamar's lyrics. It's actually...
take your word for it.
If you did it as War Machine, it'd actually be more interesting. But, yeah, I had to throw that out there. Chris Graham. Actually, that might be a tease.
I was going to drop
Chris
Graham's name. I
Graham
figured he
might
could
be
be
coming
the
soon.
post-credit
Talk
reference.
to him today. He's heading up to lovely Merrill, Wisconsin soon.
Well, like he's apt to do.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking comics, people. Rust Punks.
Yeah,
Where did it start? What?
It started at State Fair.
Well,
in part.
Great things start at Great Fair, at the Micro.
In part.
Actually, I know the story, but tell everybody else.
All right, fair enough. This is a long in development comic for me. I did a comic, like I said, called Reckless Life when I was in my kind of mid-20s. I ended it after about 300 pages. I said I was going to take a 9-month break, and that was like 10 years ago.
What was that about?
Reckless Life was a kind of a send-up on crime noir, more of a send-up on heist comics.
Okay.
Where the lead character was kind of a take on like the Rico Suave jewel thief, but he was kind of a putz. Really immature and like really good at stealing things, but really bad at life.
No, I just like the word putz.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so Reckless Life ended, and I was mulling a reboot, which I think was ahead of its time, because all my friends are like, why would you start the same story over? I'm like, because I didn't feel like I have some different ideas and blah, blah, blah. Now comics are being rebooted constantly.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, to the point of exhaustion.
Yep.
But my friends rightly...
Just because I read something today about it, and yeah.
Yeah, my friends rightly convinced me that reboots are dumb and, start thinking of fresh creative ideas. And I didn't fully listen to them at first. And I had these ideas of I was going to restart this comic and, kind of brush things up. And my wife and I were at State Fair, which we go to every year.
Who doesn't? If you listen to the last episode, I'm sorry, I had to cut you off here. If you listen to the last episode, we can tell you how bad Summerfest is this year. And I don't know State Fair has been the festival for the past how many years? It's just the greatest festival.
It's way better.
The food is better. The entertainment's better. The people watching is definitely better. You get to see cows. You get to see fluffy bunnies.
There's good beer.
There's things on sticks. And now we have the Micro. You cannot beat it. So any inspiration that comes from that is good inspiration.
Fair enough. Yeah. So we go every year because it is amazing. And this was several years ago when I was still first getting this idea, before they had kind of cleaned up the Midway. And so we wandered into the Midway, which is the area with all the rides. And we just kind of, my wife's a photographer. She was taking a bunch of pictures. So I kind of had some time to kind of just look around while she was shooting. And I was looking at the people working at the game booths and the guys running the rides. And like I said, this is before they cleaned everything up. So these were like dyed-in-the-wool carnies that were working at these games.
Handsome fellas.
Yeah, and handsome fellas and gals and
smelled like cabbage.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I looked at some of these guys and I'm just like, man, I would just love to know how you got here. Like, what's your backstory? I don't feel like you were like growing up being like, I want to grow up and be a carny. It's just like there's got to be some story there.
No, you grow up and you say, well, my dad's a carny. my granddaddy is a carny.
In my research, the copious research that I've done for this comic, that is a thing. That is totally a thing. And there is a third generation carny in Rust Punks. But I didn't know that at the time. At the time, I was just like, this is really, just as a storyteller and just as a human being, this is really intriguing to me. So I just kind of jotted down in my notebook. It's like, yeah, somebody should write a comic book about carnies.
Did you talk to carnies?
Not at that show.
Oh.
I was just kicking around in my head, and I've been at the micro for a while, so it's like,
Who cares?
Yeah. Well, and I guess the carnies don't care.
If you don't know, the Micro is a bar at our Wisconsin State Fair that has all the probably 30 taps, more 50,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a bunch of taps, all the good beer, and it's just in this kind of in the center of the fair, and you just people watch and drink, and if you tap the keg. You get a T-shirt and a bell
I got a
or
keg
something.
I got a keg killer T-shirt.
Keg killer. So that's what when we say the Micro, that's all it is an amazing thing in the center of State Fair where you just drink and hang out and watch people. So okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you want context for these things, people, you should be listening to
this is context.
Yeah, so anyways, I saw these carnies, had that thought of like, who are these guys, and made a little note in my book that said somebody should really write a story about this. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to write a story about this. It's like, reboots are dumb. I shouldn't be rebooting. I should be doing something fresh, something new. And I kind of ran the idea past my inner circle. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about a new story idea. And they were all kind of, oh, well, what do you got? I'm like, it's about carnies. And everybody's like, oh, sweet. And then I would toss in, it's like, and here's the rub. No sword swallowers or bearded ladies or fire jugglers or anything sexy like that. This story is only skeevy people with fanny packs and aprons.
Bearded women do wear fanny packs. That's
Granted,
my research.
Granted. But you know what I mean. None of
Yes.
you, like, what you think of when you think of carnies and when you think of carnival movies. Like, none of that kind of, like, sideshow stuff. Just, like, here are some people who
You're thinking of the Midway people.
Right.
Pretty much.
Here
Okay.
are people who are doing this for a variety of reasons, whether they're running from something or they like the freedom or they just don't know what else to do. And I want to tell that story. So I spent years researching, just reading and talking and, Jen helping me shoot photos of all this carny stuff. And I learned
I would love to see those photos.
all kinds of things. They're on my computer. I can. Yeah. So, and one spoiler alert: carnies hate to be photographed. Hate it. And it's like you can tell. It's like, okay, this one really must have done something bad because this person is really shying away from the camera.
Could you imagine if those pictures were like scratch and sniff?
I'd rather not. But lucky for me, my wife is a talented photographer and
She
much
is.
much better than I am at sneaking those sorts of
Ooh,
shots.
that might be a tease too.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Anyway.
But anyways, yeah. So I had this story idea kicking around in my head, and when I originally conceptualized it, the lead character Bo, which is it's a great carny name. That's like somebody who was born in a trailer, as this character is.
Bo Jackson is an actual American athlete and a hero.
I've never heard of him. Oh wait, no, he was in Tecmo Bowl. I remember him from Tecmo Bowl.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah. So he was originally kind of like a grizzled old carny. But while I was developing this, I also got involved in a little startup called Little Behalia, run by my friend Stacey Williams, which was a company that was producing Kidlit for iPad, which was still kind of an outgrowth of my interests that I had at Clickwheel. It's like, when she approached me with this, she's like, hey, I need some help with this, and I know you've got the background in this sort of kind of, digital development and app development of, illustrated stories from your comics. I'm like, that's cool, but, my interest is really more in comics and young adult fiction, so I'll help you with these, kind of more like preschool books, and then I want to start building into this. So I developed an interest in Kidlit through my work with Little Behalia, and that's when it went from being kind of more of a standard like comic book story, which is usually aimed at dudes between like 20 and like not quite dead yet, which is kind of where the comic market is right now. But I ended up shifting it to more of the young adult,
20 and
20 and old. But yeah, I ended up shifting the focus of the story, made Bo 16, 17. His age is kind of nebulous.
I don't think it matters in the story from
right.
what I read.
It doesn't. Yeah. And I've changed the.
He could be like
now.
60. Actually, looking at the art, he could be like 60, and it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
he could be older. It doesn't matter with the haircut. He's a carny. Who cares? He could be like the, hey, I'm looking cool and I'm old. Like that guy.
And from a story
hey,
perspective,
ladies want to play the goldfish game? It doesn't matter how old you are.
That's pretty much it.
That's what I get from that picture. Okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to aim it more at a young adult audience. So less your Deadpool, more your Harry Potter, Hunger Games kind of audience. So I changed the tone to fit that, and when I did, that's when everything started to click. And I also brought in some elements of interactivity that I was playing around with Little Behalia. So this thing kind of morphed from just kind of a standard issue comic about carnies to now it's this weird combination of prose and illustration and interactivity that what I'm hoping will be kind of aimed at this is what I learned doing young adult fiction is they call them reluctant readers. So it's, kids usually kind of like preteen to teen who have just fallen away from reading. And my idea with this project is that it's all digitally based. It picks up elements of, video games and comics and more kind of graphic based things, but it's still a book at heart. It's still mostly words. And my hope is that this is kind of something that can be used as a launching point for like, hey, here's a great way to, get kids interested in reading who aren't interested in reading. And at the same time, I get to write and draw a bunch of carny stuff that super interests me.
Can I tease out the video part of it?
Yeah,
I thought it was on the website, right?
It is.
It's rustpunks.com, just how it sounds and spells. It's rustpunks.com. I'll put it on the website when I post this, but you do something that kind of reminds me of the movie, and I told you this, the movie Big, where they have a comic book, but it's like an animated comic book, sort of.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that definitely will get that group of people where they're Snapchatting and whatever else they do, where it's like, if you don't want to read, but you want to just get in, like, see entertainment while you do it, that's what it did. Like, that's what you showed me, like the little things that you showed me so far. And if you go to the website again, rustpunks.com, that's what it is. It's like an animated, moving storybook comic book. Really,
yeah, and
right? Is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah, if it's hard to describe, I feel like I'm doing something right, because I'm trying to do something different with this project that's, I don't know, not just the same as some of the other things that I've done. And I don't want it to be a low-budget cartoon. So
no,
it wasn't
that. It's not that feely.
It's not fully animated.
It's not that feely, no. It's not fully animated, sorry. I will clear that up. No, there's some animated scenes, but then it's reading, and then it's like it all ties in. Just visually, it's awesome. So it's like a visually really cool looking comic book.
Well, and once upon a time, I was a graphic designer, and that kind of scratches my itch for doing graphic design, which I hate doing professionally, but I still kind of enjoy like doing for funsies. And that kind of combination of words and pictures is, I don't know, I get a kick out of it.
But it's different, and that's what I liked about it. And I definitely think it will get a younger group or anybody. Like, I read everything you sent me, and I was like, I could get into this. It's actually it's a cool way of looking at it, because I'll read comics, but books, and I'll read books too. But it's good to see something different, I guess. So when you see like the animation and stuff like that, it just brings something different.
And I love reading. So if this gets a couple of kids interested in reading, then I've
exactly, and that's what I think it would do.
And one caveat for anybody that does go to that website, I just put up the first episode last week just to see if anybody would notice. It's going to be a while before this launches.
I just saw it.
I appreciate that. But yeah, it'll be a while before it launches for real, because I've had to teach myself some kind of new technical skills to do this, and it's going to be a few months before I have a big enough buffer, because I want to release an episode every week. And it's going to be a while before I have that much of a stock to be comfortable doing that.
What's the new technical thing? I know, but
animation.
With the little doll or the
That's all built. That's all built in an animation program in HTML5. And that's, if I was 18 again, and this may dovetail into something we talk about later. If I was 18,
DuckTales from the 90s, I love that show.
I bought the remaster for PlayStation, and I still can't beat that last part where you got to jump up the little thing where Magica is turned into a bird, and it's just there's been a lot of controller throwing over that, but neither here nor there. If I had to do it over again, it's like I didn't get into animation when I was 18 because it was a team player sort of thing, and what really attracted me to comics was it was something you could do all yourself, and I was a surly teenager, and I didn't want to ask everybody's help. Now you can do animation all by yourself. And that's kind of what I've been doing in my free time. I've been sitting down in my basement teaching myself animation so I can create this story in HTML5 and everybody can just see it on their phone.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I was checking it out right away because I think you showed me when we went to a movie last. And
yep.
I went to the site and I saw it and I was like, ooh, this is fancy.
Yep, first episode is completely done now.
When did you post it?
Like I said, like last week. I didn't really tell anybody.
Okay, good. Because I was like, I checked it a couple days ago and I was like, oh. Yeah,
I mostly put it up there just to beta test it for my own purposes, and a couple people noticed.
Nice. Okay, comics. Current state of comics. Comic books. I guess we can get into this because I already kind of teased it earlier. I kind of wanted to get into who was it? Gabriel, who said the diversity in comics, and you did something on Facebook about it.
Oh, I just posted something else that somebody else wrote.
No, but it was. What was it? Here, I actually saved it for this. David Gabriel said, what we heard was that people didn't want any more diversity. I don't know that that's really true, but that's what we saw in sales.
Yeah, that is the
Is that the article?
Yeah,
that was one that I saw. And
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
the sales director from Marvel talking.
Yes, yeah.
And I mean, he was talking.
Some people get it.
He was talking in a room full of retailers,
and other people just want to be angry about his comments, like everybody is nowadays.
Neither one of those people are wrong.
No, yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on at Marvel right now in terms of like some of these new characters they're kicking out. I'm a huge fan of Squirrel Girl.
Everybody, yes.
Right, and that's actually
people won't even know what we're talking about, but yes.
But I'll name drop Ryan North, who actually was. I've never met him in person, but he was kind of in the same webcomics kind of class, for lack of a better word, than me. We were kind of doing stuff at the same time, and he was involved in the Click Wheel project, and he's a super nice guy. So I was thrilled to see him doing good stuff, and just selfishly, I love his sense of humor. It's like as soon as I saw he was writing that book, I'm like, this is just a match made in heaven. And it's been hilarious. It's like he has not lost a step since like Dinosaur Comics was his webcomic, and I think he still does it actually too. But dude's got a great sense of humor. But regardless, Marvel has all these kind of diversified characters. X-23 is Wolverine right now.
Yep.
Jane is Thor right now.
Yep.
There's a new Iron Man, but an Iron Gal called Riri Williams.
And then who's the new Spider-Man? Who I love.
Oh, Miles Morales. The best example. I love Miles Morales.
It's a perfect one. And then every time they would tease like Glover, Donald Glover, Childish Gambino to do the voice, I'm like, that's perfect.
Right.
I don't see the problem with it.
Well, you haven't spent as much time in comic book stores as I have, and
and that's what
And it's a lot of, and this is why I applaud Marvel, and DC is doing stuff too, with like the new Batgirl and things like that. It's like, a lot, to say nothing of Image, which is, a whole nother conversation about much more progressive comics. But, you got to give them credit for doing that kind of stuff. But I can see where some of the kind of like dyed in the wool, like old school comic book fans would get, themselves wadded up about that. Because I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's like a lot of these comic book fans, like they're fans from 18 until they die. And comics weren't really meant to be read that way. But a lot of the audience has kind of become that. And, Marvel and DC got to eat, So it's like
But don't you think it's funny because it's kind of hypocritical because, and you could disagree with me completely, but comic books always kind of themed along with the times.
Right. Yeah.
Like fighting Nazis or whatever it is. So it's like,
talk about Batman. I mean, going Adam West to, Christian Bale. It's like radically different takes.
Yes, but even like you have Captain America fighting Nazis and like all that other stuff or Hydra, but it's the same thing. They're going off of themes that were with the times.
Right.
So you think if you're a comic book fan, why would you complain now, I guess?
I don't have a good answer for that question because it's
like
comic book fans love to complain.
But do you see where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah, no,
it's
totally.
Like you're totally hypocritical because that's all comics have been throughout history,
right? And it's like, and if you're old enough to be bent out of shape about something like this, then you're old enough to know how comics work. And it's like my favorite time reading comics was when I very, very first got into them. Because I didn't understand like the business of publishing or all the smoke-filled rooms of comics that I've been into. And you don't have to work in the business to even know some of this stuff. It's like if you're an adult who reads comics, you're smart enough to know that Wolverine will never stay dead because Wolverine is worth a lot of money. And it's like if something changes with him, it'll change back. Or what's going on with Captain America right now. Captain America's been revealed as a sleeper Hydra agent.
Yep.
And people are losing their friggin' minds. And it's like,
you can
guys,
say fucking, it's okay.
My mom might listen to this.
Well, I said that.
I think I said fuck within the first 2 seconds of this podcast.
I said that.
Yeah.
You. Okay.
But anyways, so it's been revealed that he's Hydra, and everybody's losing their mind. And it's a story arc. It'll pass. And the one thing comics always does is it resets itself for the next generation. So it's like, in 6 months, this will all go away. He'll be a good guy again, and you will have gotten yourself upset for absolutely nothing.
I just read an article today that was about how Marvel is rebooting their entire series, rebooting everything.
Yeah, they do that like every 6 months.
Yes. And I saw the article, I can share it with you, but it was the guy kind of saying, listen, if you're going to start from scratch, make everybody alive, and if you're going to kill somebody off, keep them dead for at least 10 years. Like, just keep it good. Like, you're not going to... Because I think whoever announced this said we're going to break the internet with like whatever we do.
Yeah, they say that every time they do
Yes.
this.
So it's like, you're not going to break the internet anymore.
No.
Everyone knows what you're doing. Just, if you're going to kill somebody, keep them dead. And that would break the internet. Like,
but
that would surprise people going.
But you can't surprise people with just waiting. It's like
and the time,
somebody
I
would
said,
have...
it made a thing like no more time travel, no more clones, no more, and I'm like, that would be great. Like, the time travel is cool for the characters that actually can time travel, but don't send Wolverine out there, or don't do that. Just Cable, he can time travel. Let him time travel, but don't. I guess I have a problem with the clones thing. I'm like, why clone people? It's just...
Yeah, if you have a problem with this stuff, you shouldn't be reading Marvel Comics, because it's
I know. It's everything.
It's what it is. It's like, I mean, that's like saying, like,
but no, I'm just saying,
I'm not watching wrestling ever again because the ref was looking away, clearly.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what the guy's saying to reboot it.
Yep.
The whole article is just like, if you're going to reboot it and make us, like, break the internet, then don't do that stuff.
Then really do something. But yeah,
But it's going to happen. I mean, the time traveling, everything is going to happen.
Hype is part of the business. It's like and this is kind of what I was saying. It's like, it's when you're a more cynical comic fan and you know how that stuff is going to go. It's like, you can look at that stuff and like, whatever. Like, the internet's not going to break. And it's like, I loved when I was a kid, Age of Apocalypse, because like there was no internet, so I couldn't see what was coming 4 issues down the line. And I'm like, and I love the X-Men, and I'm like, oh my god, all of the X-Men that I know and love have changed. And but this is awesome. I'm so excited about this, and maybe it'll never change back. Who knows? And it's like, I mean, of course, if I looked at that now, it's like, well, this is a 4-issue stunt, and then everything will be back to the way it was. But at the time, it was really amazing. And I hope there's still kids out there who read these things and they really look at these events and like, they're amazing, because that's really kind of who these things should be for. They're like the 50-year-old dudes who are fussing about this. Yeah, there are. And that's what Marvel's trying to do. But the 50-year-old dudes fussing about this, it's like, either know what you're reading or just don't read it at all. And that's why I think Marvel's investing well, is like in characters with like Riri Williams or whatever. It's like, do these 50-year-old men love that character? No, they probably don't. But there's some little girl out there who does, and she might be your customer of the future.
Like, Miss Marvel coming out and everything else with Brie Larson. I go, that's perfect role.
Yep.
She supports that role. I mean, that's perfect for her.
Yeah.
So it'll be an exciting thing. Wasp coming out is going to be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, man, Wasp. I'm very excited.
That's a really fun comic right now too.
Yes. So I'm excited for all those. And then I guess the current state of the movies. When you were a kid, did you think all of this would come out?
Oh,
and everything?
God. If I knew I'd be living in this golden age, I would have been just a prick in middle school. Because when everybody was picking on me for loving the X-Men, I would have been like, "Oh, just you wait. We'll be
nerds have revolted.
Yeah. We will have taken over everything that you love and become, just more popular than even the stuff that's popular." And it's funny, like when I was in, I think it was like 6th grade or whatever, we had a exercise of like buy stock to kind of learn how the stock market works and whatever. And of course, all the other kids were like buying legit companies and whatever.
Amazon, yeah.
Oh, there was no Amazon even then. But it's like, I put all my money into Marvel. I'd be a gazillionaire if that was real money. Yeah. But yeah, no, I never in a million years. And especially, I never would have thought that there'd be this many movies and that they'd be consistently good. And it's like, I know there's plenty of people...
getting better.
Right.
Really.
And I know there's plenty of people out there with superhero fatigue, and I get it. And it's like, I love original movies, and it's like, I crave them, I seek them out, but I still do friggin' love these comic book movies. And like, even though they're part of what's wrong with Hollywood, it's like, I can't help myself. I absolutely love them.
I don't think that's what's wrong with Hollywood. I think remaking old movies and remaking old ideas, this is like new to everybody, because like you said, tons of people didn't read comics back then, so these are new stories.
This stuff is new to me. I mean, I don't know anything about Doctor Strange until I saw that movie.
And it was a fantastic movie. I was talking we were talking to Eric last time when he said, "Where do I start?" He hasn't watched any of them. I'm like, if I would tell anyone to start, it would be do the order, like the Captain America, like the cinematic order. I just think that's maybe me now, but I mean, you can start wherever you can really just watch whatever you want.
I'd watch them in release order.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's like then you kind of get the bigger story arc, and it's like particularly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like Iron Man really has the story arc, and it's like what starts in Iron Man 1 like really pays off in Civil War, and it looks like it's continuing forward in Spider-Man, where it's like, I'm an asshole because I made all these missiles and now I'm going to learn my lesson. And then he gets to the end of Age of Ultron and he's basically like, shit, I just did it again.
Yeah.
And Civil War is him being like, man, I'm locked in this pattern of just creating horrible things because I think I'm doing right, but I'm doing wrong. And I think hopefully then where they're going in Spider-Man, he's like, you know what, I'm going to try being a dad.
Trying to be the dad figure. And I think that's kind of everything that I've read is that he's like the dad figure in that. And that's the role that he's taking.
It's a great new spin on both those characters.
And I love the new Spider-Man, how they're going to do it where it's every year of high school.
I think that's brilliant. And
Which
that's
is awesome.
That's where that character should be.
Exactly. And that's where it should be. And we all love Tony Stark, so that's just cool that's
it's just an extra bonus. And Marissa Tomei.
Oh, yes.
My sister has a real problem with hot Aunt May.
Why?
She can't get past it. I don't know.
Was she expecting the other one from the other one?
Yeah, she's like, I can't deal with the fact that Aunt May is hot. It's like, what's wrong with that?
No. It's Marissa Tomei. You leave
yeah, she makes the movie better, period.
And then next year, what did it see? So we're going to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2 next week?
Yeah, a week from Thursday. Another shout out for the drunk uncle.
Another shout out. I think we should do a shout out shout out drunk uncle every episode, and we'll cheers to it.
Visit the drunk uncle.
We'll be there next week. Which I don't even know the plan. What's the plan?
He opens at 4, and there's free beer and pizza until it's time to leave for the movie. So I'll be there at like 4:01.
What time's the movie?
At 7.
Okay, I can make that work. All right, drunk uncle. There you go. Every time.
There you go, Neil.
So then next year we got coming out. Let's see, New Mutants, X-Force. No, that's probably in 2019. Deadpool 2, Dark Phoenix, Gambit. I don't know if I'm even excited for.
Listen to my lack of excitement in that whole list aside from Deadpool. I didn't even know New Mutants was coming out that fast.
They just announced it like last week, but X-Force I'm kind of excited.
Is that? I didn't even. I guess, yeah. If Deadpool's in, I don't know, man.
That's why they were hiding Cable for a while because they didn't want. They needed somebody to carry the series, and they kept teasing like whoever it was going to be. But I think Thanos is a good.
Why not?
Person, and I really hope they do a fourth wall on that, saying,
I bet.
Hey Thanos, what are you doing? Just a weird, obscure.
Yeah, there's no
Thanos
way
drop.
that doesn't happen.
And then I think you and we talked about this earlier, but not earlier on this, but before. But we were talking about Iron Fist and how they didn't book Asian characters, which goes back to the diversity thing.
Yeah, and in that case, it didn't bother me as much as it did other people.
It didn't bother me at all. I think this is stupid. Like, move on.
And I know I've said before, it's like the dude who they were talking about casting as Iron Fist, when he shows up in the series, I was like, oh yeah, this guy would have been way better because like his fighting is like super cool.
It's good. Yeah, but the main guy he's not.
But I didn't, and I think it was a case of something was actually talked down too much for me. By the time I started it, I'm like, well, this isn't Daredevil or Jessica Jones, but it's not nearly as bad as anybody says it is.
No, it wasn't bad.
And I'm not done with it, but
it was a good story. It was entertaining. It's fine. I mean, they could have. I think I mentioned this before. They could have sped up the fight scenes.
Yeah,
and that's it. Leave it at that. The guy's not that good, but he will get better. Then Defenders will be really good.
Right,
so
and the upside is I'm really excited to see how like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, who are all kind of like really hard scrabble, super serious characters, deal with having to hang out with this Dave Matthews fan that is Iron Fist.
I don't mind it at all, and I thought the series. You didn't finish it yet?
No, I got a couple left.
Oh. Did you see Mystery Science Theater yet?
I haven't started that.
Oh,
this is an interesting part of the podcast. Stories, shows that I haven't watched.
Mystery Science Theater is fantastic.
I've heard that from a number of sources.
They remade it. It looks exactly like the old shows. They did like the commercial break type things, but they're not. And
they had me at Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt was the one that and I like Jonah Ray too. But Patton Oswalt, when I saw him on, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. What did you tell me about Patton Oswalt recently? That I didn't know.
His wife died.
How? Because Steph and I were talking about this the other day.
She took some like a Xanax or something like that, and it was mixed with some other medication, and just it's really tragic. Like just randomly, like she was a super hard worker. Ever, it seems. She's a writer, and she was tracking, I believe, a serial killer, and she wasn't sleeping because she was working too hard. And I think she mixed her meds and died in her sleep. And it's.
And he has a daughter, I think, too, which
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I just remember that bit that he does where he talks about the Lion King monkey.
Yeah. I do remember that bit.
Yeah, I won't say it, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Just look it up. Patton Oswalt talking about the Lion King monkey. Yeah, you can find it somewhere. All right, so getting through comics and rustpunks.com. Drink and draw.
Oh, Drink and Draw.
This is another thing where I'm going to say. most interesting man. You have so many different little things that you do that is like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Fun. This is amazing. So drink and draw.
Drink and Draw, we just last week, Thursday, celebrated our 10th anniversary of Drink and Draw, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's something that was founded in L.A. By some comic book artists of note. Dan Panosian is one of the big guys behind it. And, you know, if you're into comic book art, by all means, Google him. If you like mainstream stuff, I know he did a bunch of Deadpool covers. I think towards the end of the Way run, and they were all just super cool. But no, great artist, and he's got a bunch of pals. They get together in LA every week, and they do this thing called Drink and Draw. My friend Terry Haller, who I've been friends with since I've been like 16, one of my mentors in comics, actually, he got a hold of this kind of trend that was happening and emailed the guys over in LA and said, hey, how would you guys feel about, you know, there being other Drink and Draw chapters in other states? And they were like, that would be amazing.
I actually thought this is something that you guys just came up with. I didn't realize that there's different chapters.
Yeah, no, this is a whole
most
thing.
Interesting man. I
There's
didn't
a
know
whole,
that.
there's a whole
Awesome.
thing. And we were like, I think like the third chapter. It was LA and then Atlanta and then us. And now they're all over the world.
That's awesome.
Like you can travel anywhere. And it's like when I was in the UK, I almost made it to one time. And and our Drink and Draw has taken many forms over the course of 10 years. Like it started out as kind of just a smallish group of like comic book nerds hanging around, you know, just not talking that much and drawing pictures of Donatello. And then for a time, there was a bar locally called Studio Lounge that we took over, and it was a huge party for a couple of years.
Where was it?
It's on KK. It's now Rebel Bar.
Okay.
Owned by my friends Ken and Carrie Yandel.
Name drop.
Yep. Ken lives in Madison now, and they sold the business, so it's.
But it's not the drunk uncle.
It's not. Perhaps it should be. Anyways, yeah. So it was a party for a time, and now it's kind of like. Recently, we've been doing. We've been at Best Place a lot. We've been at Red Bar in St. Francis a lot. We were at Frank's for a couple of years, but yeah, no, it's a super blast. And if you like.
Oh, nothing. Sorry.
if you're into art and you want to come meet other artists, we try and do it on the third Thursday of every month.
Oh, anybody can go.
Yeah, anybody. Yeah, no,
I didn't know
please,
that. Okay.
no. This is an open thing. Like we're always happy to see new people. We don't provide you with jack shit, so bring your own art supplies
And money for drinks.
But we will supply you with engaging company.
Fascinating.
Yeah, no, and me and Terry have been doing this for 10 years, and it's a blast, and you know, it's something that just he and I enjoy. And like he and I kind of joke that one of our favorite ones is we tried doing one in kind of the western suburbs to accommodate, you know, some of his friends, and nobody showed up but me and him, and it was one of our favorite ones. We just sat and like played
just the
pool.
two of you.
Yeah, we just hung out. It was awesome. So no Drink and Draw crowd too big or too small, but yeah, there's nothing complex about that. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a full chapter thing, that's awesome.
Yeah,
like
if you Google it, like there's Drink and Draws. In fact, there's multiple Drink and Draws in Milwaukee now.
Oh, they copped on you guys.
Yeah, and they do different things though. Like some of them, I think the River West Public House either has or had one on Wednesdays. It was just kind of an informal.
Is that place still around?
Oh yeah, bar's awesome.
Okay,
another bar drop.
No, I loved it, but I didn't. It's so hard to get to River West. Like I'm in a city west, but it's so hard to get out there. And I was like,
They are indeed there, as for my friend T. Krulos behind the bar.
Shout out city.
Well, when you're the most interesting man in the world, you make lots of friends, I suppose. And there's another one with like art models, and that one's less of a social club and more just kind of like a get together, because when somebody's nude in the room, it's weird to talk, I guess.
I don't see it weird.
Yeah,
no, that is You can't drink and draw, and there's a naked dude there.
But
or female.
But long story short, if you like drawing, if you like drinking, seek out a Drink and Draw.
That's awesome.
We'd love to see it. We're on Facebook. That's where the group is. You can join the group, and you'll get updated on when we do our events.
How are you different from all the other ones on Facebook? Or is it? No. How do they find you compared to everybody else?
Ours will have kind of like a martini glass logo. Okay. And it says like official Drink and Draw Milwaukee Social Club. Gotcha. The other ones are more just like Drink and Draw Milwaukee or something. So look for official Milwaukee Drink and Draw Social Club. Like the real Ghostbusters.
Like the originals?
But there's the fake Ghostbusters and the real Ghostbusters.
Who are the fake ones?
There was a whole nother Ghostbusters cartoon.
I don't know.
Here's some random nerdery for you.
I like the second the movie, not this. I like the second one, but I like the new one with the all-female cast. Did you see it or no?
I did. I liked it.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, I liked it too. That was another thing that people had talked down. And when I saw it, I'm like,
Oh, people hated it.
yeah, it's like, this is great. It's like, it's a bunch, the cast is fantastic. I love Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon's great.
There could have been no dialogue in that movie, and I still would have gone to see it just
Thor
to see
is
Kate McKinnon.
Thor is in it, and he's hilarious.
Hemsworth is hilarious.
He's hilarious. Yeah, I was actually just going to mention somebody about a Thor trailer, but I won't.
I don't think there's even anything to discuss there. It's amazing.
It's an amazing trailer, and I was told he disliked it. Somebody we both know said they really disliked it, and I'm like, what trailer were you watching? I go, that looks like the best Thor movie out there.
It's not a contest. The other, like, Thor 2 is my least favorite Marvel movie by a
awful.
significant margin.
And then I was kind of getting into it. I'm like, but he's like, well, it kind of looked like Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're trying to do that. I'm like, yeah, because that works.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I go, it's the same like Suicide Squad. That's what all they're doing now, and they're trying. I think somebody else I was talking to had a really good point where he said he's trying. It looks more comic booky, like artsy wise, than almost any other Marvel besides Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
But it looks like a comic booky type movie, and it looks awesome visually. And to see Thor say this is the guy I work with is fantastic.
Well, and I think the dudes and ladies making those Marvel movies, have been emboldened by their success. And it's like, if you look at Iron Man 1, it's pretty grounded. Like, okay, it's a step away from like the Batman movies that were out at the time, where it's like, yeah, it's a little fantastic, but this could happen. Now that they're so popular, they're just like, oh, screw this. Like, we're going to do whatever the hell we want, and people will come.
And that's where I think, to your point that you said before, where to watch them in movie release, if you haven't seen the Marvel movies ever, when you said to just watch them in how they were released normally, I think you'll be able to see like the old and then the visually, how it just kept getting better. But for somebody who's seen them all multiple times, I like to go back and say, well, I'm going to watch Captain America because that happened in 1943, and then I will do that. But yes, for your typical person, start with Iron Man.
Yep.
Yeah, I recommend.
Or if you could start with Guardians, because it's so out of left field, and if like, that'll
get you hooked.
And it's so good, that'll get you hooked.
And that's where I'm trying. Steph hasn't really been into them, but we started watching.
Jen actively dislikes Guardians. Yeah.
Oh no, Steph hasn't. She's like Deadpool because Ryan Reynolds, but who doesn't? She doesn't. Just won't watch them. It's just not her thing. That's fine. But we started watching Guardians on Friday, and she fell asleep. For full disclosure, she's pregnant, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's allowed.
It's fine. She liked it. She wanted to watch it because she really likes Chris Pratt. So I was like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So I hope she gets into it, because then I can kind of... I think from there I'm going to go Doctor Strange, because I think she'll like that one visually.
Yeah, that's a good kind of...
And then Ant-Man, because everybody loves Paul Rudd.
Right, and it's funny, and it's not really connected to the other stuff too much.
No, and then we'll see where it goes from there, if she's interested or not. So that's kind of where I'm going to lead Steph, and hopefully it works with that. All right. We got Drink and Draw, we got Rust Punks, we got everything else. Wrestling. I want to get into that.
I'm gonna be
not wrestling. The
Mondo Lucha.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I love Mondo Lucha, and I will apologize to the organizers of Mondo Lucha right now, because I can't go this year, and I am heartbroken. Now, I promised, Jen's shooting a wedding out of the area. I promised that I'd go with her.
Where?
It's far enough. But I promised that I'd go with her.
That's fine.
So
that's acceptable. And
it's heartbreaking, but Mondo Lucha is far and away my favorite thing in Milwaukee.
I'll throw the website on here for... When is it?
It is September 8th, and I know the date because I know that I can't go.
And what is it?
It is wrestling and burlesque and music. And it's kind of... It's a fun night, is really the bottom line.
It's at the Eagles Ballroom?
It's at Turner Hall.
Oh, even better.
Yep, and you don't have to be a fan of even any of those three things to have a good time. Like, it's just a blast. The guys that put it on are incredibly passionate and also incredibly nice dudes. Like, I did their poster last year and got to know them a little bit as a result. Which was super cool. And it's like, it's not necessarily even just luchador wrestling anymore. It's like WWE style, like over the top dramatic, and with some really talented burlesque dancers, and then a local band.
That's awesome.
It's a blast, and they bring it. Last year they had a dude. It's a lot of indie wrestlers from around the area, and these guys are. I mean, real or not, these guys work hard.
If they bustle their, I don't care if you say it's real or not. Then you don't know.
Yeah,
like wrestling, you get hurt.
Yeah, these guys are out
it's
there.
It's a sport.
They are suffering for their art in a
Yes.
big way. But yeah, it's a blast. And one of the most important elements of Mondo, if you ask me, is the crowd. People come like in, coordinated costumes. They have chants, they have cheers, and everybody, there is not a single person in there who's just kind of like, whatever, this isn't real. And there's nobody who's just kind of also at the same time like a little kid who's like, yeah, no, he's hurt. It's like everybody's in on the joke and everybody's having a good time. So the bad guys are getting booed, the heroes are getting cheered, and it's like, if you are looking for positive energy in a room in Milwaukee, I highly advise you to go to Turner Hall on September 8th and take my seat because I can't go this year.
That's I wanted to know because I always see you post about it. I saw your poster from last year. It looked awesome. September, baby will be born and out, and maybe I can sneak out. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to get to for that. Last thing, we originally talked about when I wanted you on, and we were going to hold this thought for a while.
Yep.
But we were going to talk time travel. People are going to wonder why we're laughing. This has been edited. Fourth wall. All right. So when we originally talked, we watched a movie. Oh, no, I can't even say that. We wanted to talk about time travel.
And that's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it. We just were hanging out one day. We're like, hey.
Time travel came up.
What do you think about time travel?
Well, and it's what I was going to say is that I have, aside from my random carny
Most interesting man.
Yeah. Aside from my random carny dalliances and crime stories and whatever, it's like I've got a couple other stories kind of kicking around in the back of my head. And I think this is one that I'm probably not going to get to.
What?
But just in case, I'm not going to give you the entire story. But the premise of this story is I was talking to some friends or whatever, and you get into that whole conversation. And I think every man, woman, and child older than 18 has had this conversation of, oh man, if I could go back to whatever age and do it all again, wouldn't that be amazing? And, everybody's like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's, I could do this or do that, or I'd change this or change that. And just kind of thinking it through, for some reason, it kind of engaged me. It's like, what if this was a story? So I started thinking it through, kind of like all the way. Ooh, yes. Whichever one you like. Sweet. Yeah, so I started thinking it through, and it's like, okay, what would actually happen if you did that? And it's like, I'm a big Back to the Future fan, so like you'll find shades of Back to the Future in this idea. But I kind of thought it through. It's like, okay, so if you actually were transported back to yourself at, let's say age 19, 20 or whatever, let's just say college, what would happen? And it's like, I think at first, you can go through kind of all the obvious stuff of like betting on sports and, investing wisely and, doing things that are positive. Other things like, hey, maybe I'm not going to eat so much junk food and I'll exercise a little bit more and, improve your health.
No, I'm buying sports books and I'm illegally betting.
Right. And I'm not
going to make myself better.
in this script,
I'll find out how I die and I'll be like, well, won't do that.
Nope. Well, see, but that's where the story starts to go. Right. Now here come all the ohms. So you're back in this place, and you have all these good things. And it's like, and I think something else that people joke about a lot, especially guys, it's like, oh, if I had the wisdom of an older man, I could go to a college house party and, be, this confident dude. And it's like, I'd be a much better version of myself than I was at 20. So now you've got yourself at this young age and, you've got money because you've got this wisdom and you're putting yourself on a better track for, health and even career purposes. Like you could be like, hey, I know this job didn't work out well for me and this one did, or I already did that and I don't need to repeat this.
Okay. Yeah, I can follow you there.
Right. Okay. So now the general setup, and this is like kind of your first few minutes of the movie.
Okay, but wait. I do think about this, and this is something that everybody. Well, maybe I do. I don't know if everybody does, but I do, and obviously you do, and a couple other people do. But I always think like if I'm sure you and your wife, or like if I met, I knew Steph through high school and college, and we never started talking until after we were done with college. But we knew each other, and I hit on her in a bowling class once. But it's like if we would have hooked up then, or knowing our whole story now.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Like the whole theme of the story is kind of like the
I know everything about her, so it'd be hard to be like, hey, we don't know each other, but I know that you like this.
Well, and I
Something
can
random.
raise you one on that, because my idea is Jen and I didn't meet until much later in life. So let's say, okay, now I'm 20, but I'm still have my brain, I have all these good things happening for me, and after I kind of get bored of all this stuff, because you're stuck in, you're living with a bunch of children and you're an adult in your head.
Yep.
You're like, oh, well, I shouldn't have wished on that Zoltan machine. I want to be back in my old life, and like, this sucks. And I've got, in the case of me, would have been like 10 years until I met my wife. So it's like, okay, well, now you're kind of bummed. And then, well, what if this character decides like, well, I know where she is. I know her whole life story. I'll just go there now. But, people are different at 20 and 30. And then you try and meet your wife when you're 20 and you don't get along, and now she hates you. And now you're like, oh no, now what? And then maybe in the meanwhile, like, some of these randoms that you're hooking up with, you have a spark with, and you're like, oh.
No, I waited for my wife I waited till marriage.
Okay. Well, then you don't work for the purposes of this story. But it's like, the whole point of the story is just kind of this, like, people, I think, regret like a lot of the decisions they make when they're younger. And it's this kind of whole sci-fi idea of like, the mistakes you make as a young person, they're important. They kind of make you who you are. And if you go back and try and, untangle all of that stuff or fix it, you might actually ruin your life.
You might make it worse.
Right. And it's kind of like, I was big into Lost too. So there's some Lost style time travel happening here.
Is there a polar bear?
There's not a polar bear. This isn't a script yet. This is just a random idea. So there could be.
I do think about that stuff, and that's weird. Yes, it's weird that you brought it, because, like I said, Steph and I are a weird case where like people are like, "Oh, well, you knew each other in high school, or your high school sweetheart." Like, no, we would probably not be together if we knew each other or started dating in high school. There's no way.
Right, because people are different people at that age.
Yeah, and the stuff we did, and there's no way we would have stuck together. We would have killed each other by then. So I mean, we met at the right time. But knowing what we know now, if I knew what I knew now about each other, like the movie Big, but you reverse it and I want to be small. Like, it just would, you know what I mean? Like, you reverse it.
I just like.
I don't think that would
that's
ever
the
work.
third big reference in the course of this show.
Drunk uncle. I think that's all I got for us.
Fair
we
enough.
can talk about our TNA food truck beer. No, is it what was it?
Yeah, it was Tim and Aaron craft beer truck.
All right, we're gonna have a beer truck soon. We're gonna drive around. It's not a pedal tavern. We'll deliver the beer to you.
It's more like an ice cream truck.
Is that what we said?
I'm just making that up right now, but that's
What kind of music? Just like Slayer.
Yeah, I was thinking, like death metal for sure. Yeah.
All right, if we're coming around your neighborhood and you hear death metal, the kids won't know. But it'll be the TNA beer truck. That'll be us.
Come get your beer from a truck.
Now kids are just going to hear death metal going, what in the hell? So yeah, I think that's all I got for us. I think we lasted a perfect amount of time.
Outstanding.
Drunk Uncle next week.
I'm looking forward
Cheers
to
to
it.
that. All right. Thanks, dude. All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to do rustpunks.com. Check out all of Tim's comics. They're amazing. Episode 1 is on there.
Yep. And I'll probably post I've been posting some old Reckless Life stuff here and there for people that.
Why haven't I seen that?
Because you're not paying close enough attention
Damn
to the
it.
website. Whatever, I'll just email you the
You're supposed
PDF.
to email it to me. That's
Yeah,
why.
I'll email it. I put up the Christmas special at Christmas time. But yeah, some old Reckless Life stories will show up there from time to time. So while I'm developing the series, please do check in, and you can get some free comics that I made in my 20s that have a lot of really immature jokes in them.
Perfect. And then make sure you go to a local liquor store, or what bars? Everywhere? A lot of bars around here. No?
Not everywhere. We're more at the kind of like, craft cocktail kind of bars, or like, more restaurants a lot of times, because we're not rail by any stretch of the imagination. So you can find us more at a place like if you're going out to dinner and you're having a nice dinner, you can probably find us at the bar there. If you're just at kind of your corner pub, probably not.
All right, and that's great.
Unless it's the Drunk Uncle.
Wow. That's Great Northern Distilling. Check it out. This stuff we had tonight was pretty fantastic. But yeah, that's what are we on? Episode 3? Let's keep it going. Do I have any post credits?
Oh, post credit scenes.
Chris Graham, Drunk Uncle, Samuel L. Jackson.